Today's a special day as I finally make my journey into the land of dual subwoofers with a pair of REL 1508 Predator subwoofers. And we're going to check it out right after the jump. And I'm back. Big shout out to REL for sending these subwoofers in for review. Thank you guys so much. The subwoofers are double boxed as they are pretty heavy, coming in at around 90 pounds for the shipping weight. Getting them out of the box wasn't too hard. I just opened them up from the bottom and then lifted the box up. They are wrapped in a nice white cloth, and once I got it on the table, I could see just how awesome they look. The 1508 Predator has a 15-inch carbon fiber woofer mated to an 800 watt RMS amplifier in a sealed enclosure. They retail for $17.99 each, and yes, as that is very pricey, they do have 10-inch and 12-inch options that are very competitively priced. Now, you don't need to get two right away, but you could get one and then get the second one down the line. Low frequency extension is stated as -6 dB at 21 Hz. On the top, we have the REL logo on a piece of black glass that gives it that real upscale and classy feel. On the back, we have all the I/O and controls. From top to bottom, we have balanced XLR inputs and outputs, status LED, auto and on switch, phase switch, low-level RCA inputs along with an LFE input, crossover and level knobs, and at the bottom we have the IEC power port and main power switch. Once I got the second subwoofer opened, it was time to stack them up. They each come with stacking brackets and screws. I placed them on my decoupling device and connected them to the AVR via RCA into the LFE port. I then daisy chained the subwoofers and ran Odyssey on the Denon X3600H. Alright, so I'm sure you're probably wondering, how do they sound and how do they stack up? Pun intended. Ha! Anyway, I've had these for a couple of weeks and I've been very impressed with not only the bass output, but the quality of bass coming off these two subwoofers. I ran Odyssey and I had to do the level matching to bring them down to, I think, 75 dB, and that brought it down from midnight to 9 o'clock on the back. Now, one of the coolest parts about the subwoofer is the level knobs are actually notched. So if I wanted to match up exactly the same level on both subwoofers, they're notched. So they do these little ticks and you could kind of feel the little grooves when they fall into the notch. So I actually had them down at 9 o'clock, which I watched some shows and some TV and noticed I needed more bass. So I brought them back up to about 5 notches left from midnight, which is kind of in between 10 and 11 o'clock. And that was where I struck a good balance with the Martin Logan ESL-X's. Now with the Martin Logan ESL-X's, I was running those full range. And when I cut them off at 80 and I had the RELs at 120, it felt a little weird, a little disjointed, but I made a few adjustments, and this is just me just kind of tinkering around. This is not like, you know, set in stone. I'm still gonna mess around with it, but I had the ESL-X Martin Logans set up as full range, and I did LFE at 100 Hz for the subwoofers. And right now I've got a really, really cool balance going on with them. And we were watching Ozark on Netflix, and season 3 has like a really great soundtrack where the bass just kind of creeps in and then just shakes the shit out of the room. Like that is just, and then it goes along with the guy's heartbeat, and it's only in like intense scenes. Of course, there's not much action going on in a show like Ozark, but there are these really, really intense scenes, and we don't even notice it's done well. It's like subtle. It like gets in there and then just shakes the room. It's pretty awesome. You guys should definitely check that out. And these RELs, I think, are very well balanced with these Martin Logans right now, and I'm pretty stoked about it. I got Jumanji: The Next Level on 4K UHD disc because it has an IMAX enhanced audio track. Now, if you guys don't know what IMAX enhanced is, basically what they do is they give you the theatrical mix of the film. Okay, so what they're playing in the theater with all the dynamic range, you're getting that on the disc, as opposed to most of the other discs that are, you know, mastered for, you know, somebody that just has TV speakers and not a full-fledged home theater or even like a kick-ass home theater. So in my theater, wow, Like the scene with the monkeys, like in the little, you know, they're going from ladder to ladder and they're trying to do that little game or maze or whatever you want to call it. Like that was pretty nuts. The part with all the, you know, breakdance fighting, that was really cool too, with the music and all the sound effects. And man, I gotta tell you guys, like, I actually turned the knobs back to midnight and wow, like, wow. I played a few things and I was just like, holy shit, because it just pressurized the room like never before. Now my room is a big rectangular prism with a triangular prism on top, and we're talking about 4,200 cubic feet without adding in the, you know, the kitchen or the stairwell. And this is like the living room and the dining room area, and a big vaulted ceiling situation there. And basically I was blown away. Like, I've never had a subwoofer in my space do that before. And that night that I did all of this, like, I had the 100-inch screen from Vivid Storm up, I had the Vava projector going on, and actually ran the Odyssey that night with the screen up so I can get the audio, you know, perfectly at my listening station. And I played that movie, and it was like 2:30, 2:45 in the morning. I get a text from our teenager who's downstairs, and he's like, "Hi, can you please turn it down?" And I was like, whoa, if he thinks it's too loud, it's gotta be pretty loud. So yeah, I had a great time that night. And you know, it was actually my wife's birthday. It was like the end of March, and she was passed out at like 10 p.m. So I had free reign to just kind of go crazy and play around with subwoofers. And even though I've only had them for just a few weeks, I'm pretty certain that this is some of the best bass I've heard in my room. Now again, I talked about how they have a 10-inch model and a 12-inch model. I think it's the 1003 and the 1205. I'll put links down in the description for you guys to check those out. But they are pretty competitively priced with all the other subwoofer dealers around. And I think, you know, if you wanted to get dual subwoofers, this is definitely a way to go, because I have the SVS PB4000 and the footprint on that is just huge, huge. But these dual RELs, you know, are made to stack on top of each other. They are sealed, so they are smaller, and it just takes up less room. And I know my wife appreciates it when some sort of equipment is smaller than another, and outperforming it in that sense as well, because she knows I'm stoked about it, and she's stoked about it too, because, you know, there's less stuff on the floor. Now, one of the things I did ask her about was a couple of days after we watched the Ozark series, I was like, did you notice the bass that was going on and how the room started shaking? She's like, you know what, come to think of it, I do remember that. So she didn't even like notice. It was just so natural, and it just happened without any kind of big jumps in bass or spikes, because the balance was on. And if you've seen my previous video like 2-3 years ago about balancing your subwoofers, I'll leave a link down in the description to a website that'll give you a couple of sweeps and test sweeps, so you guys can try to dial in your subwoofers that way as well. So I did just get in a new microphone. It is a calibrated microphone, downloaded Room EQ Wizard, or REW, and I will be taking some measurements, which will be my first time doing that kind of thing, and seeing exactly what's happening in my room, because I know for a fact that I get more bass off axis and not in my listening position than I do in my main listening position. So I know what's going on already. I can hear it, I can feel it, and I'm just going to verify that with some measurements. So I'm really stoked about that, and I will have a full review on the subwoofers in like 3 to 4 weeks. Got a lot of videos I'm trying to make right now, so please be patient. And I love them already, and I'm sure with more time I spend with them, they're going to be even better. Once again, a big shout out and thank you to the folks at REL for sending these subwoofers in for review. Thank you guys so much. And if you have any questions for me, let me know down in the comments below, or hit me up on social or email, whichever you like to use. That's pretty much it for this video. Go ahead, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel using the button in the middle of your screen. Once again, my name is Chana D. I'm your Techno Dad. I'll see you next time.